UFC 259 Blachowicz versus Adesanya takes place in only a couple of hours, and I'm going to go through my last minute detailed predictions for every single fight on the card. I'm going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, telling you guys and describing to you guys exactly how each fight is going to go. I'm not going to get into resumes. I'm not going to get into why I believe something's going to happen. We've already done that with my full card predictions. I'm not going to talk about how if this guy enters the matrix every single round and dodges every single punch and lands the perfect counter shot, then he's going to win. And if this guy completely changes his game plan and goes for an entirely grappling based approach and gets it perfectly with every sweep exactly how he wants it, then he's going to win. We're calling it exactly how it's going to go, and I believe I'm going to be pretty correct here because last week's card I did okay. So let's try and keep the momentum going and start with the early prelim opener of Mario Batista versus Trevin Jones kicks off the card. I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a fun scrap back and forth. That's why they've made it the early prelim opener, in my opinion. I think this is going to be a fun scrap back and forth. Both guys landing good shots. I just see Mario Batista edging out every single round to a 30-27. Unanimous decision victory. I don't see much grappling going on here whatsoever. I think Trevin Jones is going to be swinging hard, winging with big hooks, and Mario Batista is going to keep it very technical, chopping at the legs, going for the front kick, going down the middle with a 1-2, and he will outclass and outstrike Trevin Jones each and every single round. But it will be competitive. It'll be a fun scrap, but I think Mario Batista's technique is going to carry him through here and win himself the decision 30-27 on all three scorecards. Moving on up the card, Uros versus Cruz. There are so many prelims, we're going to have to speed up through these. I believe that Uros is going to go out there and get a body kick TKO in the first round. I see Cruz coming out there, being a little bit hesitant because he's been out for so long. Uros is a very, very fast starter. He's got a lot of momentum right now. 6-0, undefeated. A bunch of them by finish as well, and I think Uros is going to go out there and keep his finishing streak going and get the body kick TKO against Cruz. Mix up the hands first, then go with the body kick. Cruz is a very tall man, the same with Uros Cruz keeps his guard up high as well, so that torso is going to be wide open for him, and I think Uros is going to earn himself a TKO by body kick in the first round. Moving on up the card, Livia Souza versus Amanda Lemos. It'll be an embarrassing display of mixed martial arts, start to finish. Both girls are decently okay, but it's not going to be the best fight in the world. I think it's going to be a very slow-paced, nothingness bouts for 3 rounds, and I think Livia Souza is going to chop at the legs and land a few of the cleaner shots against Amanda Lemos. It's going to be a great fight, don't get me wrong. I just edged away of Livia Souza getting the job done by, I'll say, 29-28. Close, competitive, back and forth decision. It's going to be a very close fight, but I think Livia Souza's powerful shots will win her the fight by her just landing the more effective striking. Moving on up the card to a good one, Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. Now, I know a lot of people are picking Sean Brady here, and I am as well, and I'm not too confident in him because Jake Matthews is a live dog. I feel like Sean Brady's going to go out there and win himself the first 2 rounds by controlling the grappling situations against Jake Matthews. I think they're going to get a little bit scrappy, land some hooks back and forth, and then when you feel like it's going to turn into a bit of a war, Sean Brady's going to duck underneath anything Jake Matthews throws, goes for the takedown and earns himself the win that way by at the end of the first and second round towards the halfway point. As we get into the second half of those rounds, I think Sean Brady's going to secure himself the grappling takedown, get him to the ground and control Jake Matthews to the end of the round, each one of those first 2 rounds. Jake Matthews, I believe, is going to come back in the third. We've seen Sean Brady slow down before. I think Jake Matthews will have a good third round and maybe win the third round, but Sean Brady will win by decision 29-28 by utilizing his grappling and great wrestling in the first 2 rounds, taking down Jake Matthews at the end of them after being pretty competitive on the feet in the early part of those rounds. Sean Brady gets it done by close, competitive 29-28 unanimous decision. Moving on up the card, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carlos Ulberg. I'm picking Carlos Ulberg by first round TKO. I think he's going to land a right hook right behind the ear of Kennedy Nzechukwu. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu is going to be covering up. He's going to stumble backwards after Ulberg's shot. I don't think it's going to be a one-punch drop and KO finish. I think Nzechukwu is going to take a big shot. He's got a good chin. Ulberg's going to land a right hand around his guard as he tries to cover up after a combination, backing Kennedy Nzechukwu up against the cage. Then he's going to follow up with body shots to a headshot combination finish. Nzechukwu is going to fall down down against a cage, and Ulberg will finish him up for a TKO to ground and pound in the first round. I just think Ulberg's going to be way too aggressive early, look for the finish like he always does, and Kenney Nzechukwu, after a long time off, isn't going to be ready for that kind of aggression early, and I think Ulberg's going to capitalize on a Nzechukwu who's trying to get his feet wet in the game and trying to get some octagon time before so he can shake the jitters off, and I think Ulberg's going to be too fast too soon and crack him with a right hand, then finish him off against the cage with ground and pound. Carlos Ulberg by first round TKO. Moving on, Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinosa. I can see Jordan Espinosa here winning the first round by landing some straight shots down the pipe on Tim Elliott's chin. Tim Elliott will be moving forward the entire fight long, I believe. I think he's going to go out there, put the pressure on Jordan Espinosa early, use that herky-jerky head movement, trying to slip on the outside of some of those jabs and twos from Jordan Espinosa, who likes to use a lot of straight shots. I think Espinosa will edge the first round on overall strikes. Elliott will start to wear on him as the fight goes on because Jordan Espinosa non-stop moves backwards in his bouts. I think this one will be no different. Elliott will be the guy pressuring forward, and in the second and third round, he'll start to get to Jordan Espinosa, and the pressure will be too much. Tim Elliott wins by 29-28 unanimous decision. Moving on to the prelims. This is where it gets interesting. Rogerio Bontorin versus Kai Kara-France. Again, another CKB member, another KO in my opinion. I think Kai Kara-France is going to go out there and catch Rogerio Bontorin after failing a couple of takedowns. They're going to start the fight. Bontorin's going to land some good shots. Kara-France is going to land some decent shots back. Rogerio Bontorin's going to go for the takedown a couple of times in the first round. I think Kai Kara-France will defend those takedowns, making Rogerio Bontorin a little bit more predictable, and he's going to be rushing around trying to get a hold of Kai Kara-France. Kara-France is going to be moving backwards in the first round, and I think he's going to fade away hook, land on Rogerio Bontorin the same way he landed on Brandon Royval when he was rushing forward, except this time I don't think Bontorin's going to have the level of Brandon Royval's skill to survive those situations, and I think Kai Kara-France will earn himself the fade away whilst moving backwards hook against Rogerio Bontorin, who's going to be looking to get a hold of him after failing some early takedown attempts. Kara-France by first round KO. His nickname Don't Blink will finally be effective because he's not had a finish in the UFC yet. So that's an embarrassing nickname in hindsight. Moving on to the next fight on the prelims. Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov. I feel like Joseph Benavidez, Benavidez's corpse is going to lose this one, I believe, and Askar Askarov's going to go out there, and he's basically going to beat Jordan Espinosa to Tim Elliott, but he's going to do it way better. I think Joseph Benavidez is going to be trying to rush in, land some combination punches, but Askar Askarov will keep him at bay with a straight 1-2. Great technical striker is Askar Askarov. I can even see him going for some takedowns in the second and third round, and I think he will be out grappling Joseph Benavidez in the third round, and I can see him winning himself a 30-27 unanimous decision. I don't see Joseph Benavidez winning a round. I think he's going to be looking to get in the inside, land those hooks, and every single time he tries to close the distance, I think Askarov's going to stick a jab in his face or land a clean 1-2, which is going to make Joseph Benavidez he's going to be less enthusiastic as the fight goes on to get into those long exchanges, and I think Askarov's going to slowly pick at him and wear away throughout the 3 rounds for a 30-27 unanimous decision win for Askar Askarov. Moving on up the card, Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips. Dangerous, but Song Yadong will get it done in my opinion. I think he'll win himself the first 2 rounds, landing big shots and making Kyler Phillips not really want to engage and use his volume the way he usually does. Phillips is a volume-based fighter. He likes to wear on guys, land a bunch of shots, move around the outside, use a lot of great footwork, but I think Song Yadong's going to crack him a couple of times big early because Song Yadong's got that power in his hands. And I think Song Yadong's going to really put some fear into Kyler Phillips in the first 2 rounds badly, landing the bigger shots, making Kyler Phillips not want to engage as much. Then in the third round, Yadong is not going to be able to hold on with that pace, and I believe that Kyler Phillips is going to mount a little bit of a comeback and actually have Song Yadong in some real trouble in the third round. I think in third rounds of fights, Song Yadong is a very vulnerable man, but for the first 2, he's an absolute dangerous savage. The question is Kyler Phillips going to be able to finish Song Yadong? I don't believe so. Song Yadong looks like he's a good survivalist in there. I think he will survive the third round. He'll get beaten the third round will be the most impressive of the fight for Kyler Phillips. I think he'll win it more dominantly than Song Yadong wins the first 2. The first 2 are going to be competitive, but I think Song Yadong's going to land the bigger shots. You're going to hear him way more. They're going to make Kyler Phillips like to shell away and not want to engage with him. Then Kyler Phillips is going to start to mount a bit of a comeback in the third round, start using some of that volume, but it's going to be too little, too late, and Song Yadong will secure himself the the win 29-28. Moving on up the card, Dominick Cruz versus Casey Kenney. I believe that Dominick Cruz is going to go out there, dance around the outside, scoot around like an absolute savage, but in the first round, this is going to be a 29-28 again. There's a lot of 29-28s nowadays, so don't blame me when I'm predicting all of them, because they seem to happen quite a bit, I'll be honest with you guys. And even if they aren't a 29-28 fight and it's a 30-27, trust me, 2 of those disabled judges will find a way to give a round to someone else. Dominick Cruz versus Casey Kenney. I feel like it's going to be another 29-28 unanimous decision. I can see Casey Kenney going out there, landing some good leg kicks early, landing some good shots early, and Dominick Cruz just sort of needs to get into things, shake off the cobwebs, get back into the motions. Casey Kenney's going to land a lot of shots early. He's not going to land the kind of leg kicks that Cejudo landed against Dominick Cruz. I think he's going to land a couple of them. He's going to land some good shots. It's going to be an extremely slow-paced fight, in my opinion. Now, I know that Casey Kenney is known for his volume, but Dominick Cruz will slow this one down to his pace, and I think it's going to be a very low-output fight while both guys try and figure each other out. Casey Kenney will land more leg kicks than Dominick Cruz will land punches to the head in the early round. Round 1 will go to Casey Kenney. Round 2 and 3 are going to be Dominick Cruz all day. He's going to be absolutely reinvented, I believe, in the 2nd and 3rd round and start dancing around Casey Kenney, landing some good shots, making Casey Kenney look a little bit foolish in the later 2 rounds, especially in the 3rd where we've seen Casey Kenney slow down before. I think Cruz is going to land his own leg kicks, which are going to start to pay effect in that 3rd round, and Cruz will really start to win the 3rd round quite dominantly. Lose the 1st round closely to Casey Kenney's leg kicks. The 2nd round's going to come around. Dominick Cruz will edge that round. Then in the 3rd round, Dominick Cruz is really going to start landing some good shots, letting the hands go, landing some great combinations, and win himself the fight 29-28 by securing the last 2 rounds. Moving on to the main card. Let me brace myself here. I'm going to go with Aleksandar Rakic, 30-27 domination against Thiago Santos. And I don't think it's going to be much of a fight. I think this is going to be a little bit of a snooze fest. I think Aleksandar Rakic is going to go out there and land some total strikes in half guard for like the majority of the fight. I don't think Thiago Santos is going to be able to get a massive guy like Aleksandar Rakic off of him when this gets to the ground. And I think it's going to get to the ground eventually, but not from a takedown with Aleksandar Rakic. I believe that Thiago Santos, with his ligamentless leg, okay, is not going to be able to take those leg kicks from Aleksandar Rakic early. Rakic will chop at the leg early, land some great leg kicks, work on it a little bit longer, and by the 2nd half of the 1st round, Thiago Santos is going to be limping around all over the place. It won't take too many more leg kicks for Aleksandar Rakic, but eventually Santos' leg will give in and he will fall to the ground after a leg kick, and Rakic will take advantage of the situation to get himself in half guard, land those total strikes, and I think he'll win this one by ground and pound every single round. Maybe a few more significant strikes than there were in his Anthony Smith bout because he wants to be a little bit more entertaining. Who knows? I think it's going to be decently okay to watch, but I think Aleksandar Rakic will make this a half guard, total strike kind of fight and win it 30-27 after continually dropping Thiago Santos with leg kicks. I just don't understand and don't trust a man who doesn't have ligaments in his leg to take leg kicks from Aleksandar Rakic when people who do have ligaments in their leg can't take them anyway. I'm going to go with Aleksandar Rakic debilitating Santos' leg early, landing them so hard that Santos will cower to the ground because his leg can't take it anymore. That's when Rakic will pounce on top of him and win it by ground and pound. 30-27, every single round will be won by Aleksandar Rakic. Moving on up the card, Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. I believe that Islam Makhachev will earn himself a 3rd round submission victory over Drew Dober. I think he will get it done by submission. I think that submission will be a rear naked choke in the 3rd round, of course. Once Drew Dober is a little bit more gassed out, Islam Makhachev's going to put him through the pace of grappling a bunch. Drew Dober on the feet is going to be very reckless and try and land big shots because he knows that that's kind of his only way to win this one. He's got to make Islam Makhachev pay on the feet, and he's only got a short amount of time to make that happen before Islam Makhachev inevitably takes him down with the superior grappling, which I believe that Makhachev is going to have. I think Dober's going to be swinging crazy early on, landing some good shots maybe, and Makhachev's going to be skirting around the outside trying to get his bearings. Every single time Dober tries to swing too hard and look for that finish, Islam Makhachev's going to duck underneath, take him to the ground, and Dober's going to be trying to get back up but being taken back down again. It's going to be a very Khabib-esque performance by Islam Makhachev, and those comparisons will be made afterwards, of course. And Makhachev's going to go out there, control the first 2 rounds and win the first 2 rounds by controlling the second half of them with the ground attack and with his grappling and securing Drew Dober on the ground. Then in the 3rd round, Drew Dober's going to get real tired of swinging heavy on the feet and missing, and trying to defend against takedowns and trying to get himself back to his feet. And eventually he's going to just he's going to perform a bit of a sloppy get-up just out of frustration, and I think Makhachev's going to capitalize, take his back on the ground, and sink in the rear naked choke on a gassed-out Dober in the third. Islam Makhachev gets the job done. Moving on up the card, Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. The first of our title fights, and in my opinion, the people's co-main events. Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Looking forward to this one. I've got Aljamain Sterling by third round submission again, by rear naked choke. I think there's 2 in a row on the main card, except this one's got 5 rounds, not 3, but I think that Aljamain Sterling will secure himself the rear naked choke in the third round. I think Yan's going to be doing quite well. I think Aljamain Sterling's going to be landing a lot of leg kicks in this fight, and I think that's something that not a lot of people are talking about. Petr Yan is a boxing heavy guy. A lot of guys have been able to land some decent leg kicks on him, and I think Aljamain Sterling's going to be chopping at that calf early, landing some good leg kicks, trying to back Petr Yan up. I think Yan's going to have some success in the rounds. I think he might even, who knows, drop Aljamain Sterling. I don't think he's going to drop him, but I think he's going to crack Aljamain Sterling with some shots that are going to make Aljamain Sterling go, hang on a second, I need to sort of be a little bit more educated here because I could get put out at any second. Yan will land his big shots that make Joe Rogan scream vowels, but other than that, I think Sterling's going to eventually get to him. Aljamain will wear on him, land some good shots. The front kick to the body is going to be huge. I think the leg kicks are going to be huge. I don't think he's actually going to shoot a takedown in the first round. I think he's going to save it for the second, and it's going to confuse Yan. Then he's going to start shooting takedowns. Every single takedown will be failed, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be able to get Yan to the ground, but what I think he's going to be able to do is, after failing a takedown, keep a hold of Petr Yan and push him against the cage, land those knees to defy, land those foot stomps as well, channel his inner Kamaru Usman to grind Yan against the cage. Then Yan is going to be looking to escape against the cage, and Aljamain Sterling, wow, that breath. Jesus. And Aljamain Sterling's going to take his back. I'm literally feeling the shock of Petr Yan as I tell you how the fight's going to go. Aljamain Sterling's going to take his back standing in the third round and finish it there after Yan falls to the canvas. Then Aljamain Sterling will have his back and sink in the rear naked choke after Yan tries to get out of a clinch situation against the cage and leaves himself open to have his back taken, and Aljo's going to pounce and secure a third round submission by rear naked choke. Aljamain Sterling gets it done. Moving on, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. Another great fight on the card. I'm going to go with Amanda Nunes by unanimous decision. It's not a great fight. Megan Anderson doesn't know what to do with takedown defense, and Amanda Nunes is going to go straight out there and take her down and win this fight by half guard, camping and landing total strikes. Amanda Nunes is going to go out there and do that for 5 rounds, in my opinion. There's no way she wouldn't do that. If Amanda Nunes goes out there and tries swinging with Megan Anderson, she's going to land some good shots, don't get me wrong. I think Megan Anderson is actually going to have a moment here where she lands a big shot and Nunes maybe has to sort of regroup after she eats a big shot, but that's just going to be a random fluke from Megan Anderson. She has no idea what she's doing with her hands. Her technical striking is absolutely appalling. She's landed some decent shots, but they're all just early stoppages because it's women's MMA and you're not allowed to get dropped in women's MMA for some bizarre reason. But Amanda Nunes is going to go out there, land the shots she needs to. Megan Anderson is going to try some crazy stuff in the rounds, and I think at one point she's actually going to clip Amanda Nunes and have her in some trouble, but then Anderson's going to come rushing in and Nunes will just go back to the takedown, controlling her on the ground every single round to a unanimous decision. I'll call it 50-44. I'll actually say 50-43 to Amanda Nunes. I think in the last 2 rounds, she's going to secure the 10-8 by landing big shots on Megan Anderson. But everyone's going to talk about how stunning and brave Megan Anderson is and how her performance in defeat by losing every single round is justification to keep the women's featherweight division alive because of all the talent there for some bizarre reason. But Amanda Nunes gets the job done by unanimous decision. Moving on up the card, Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. Okay. Extremely slow-paced fights, okay? If there was a crowd, they would be going, woo, 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 the entire time. Trust me, you'll be glad there's not a crowd here, okay? Jan Blachowicz is going to be very patient. Israel Adesanya is going to be very patient. I think Israel Adesanya is going to easily outstrike Jan Blachowicz. He's got the reach, he's got the height, he's got the length. This is not going to be a size disadvantage fight. I think Jan Blachowicz is going to try and corral Israel Adesanya against the cage, but fail and eat some shots on the way, which is going to make him not want to close the distance and play the kick game with Israel Adesanya. And I believe after the first round, they're going to be playing the kick game with each other in the second and third. Israel Adesanya is going to be landing some stinging jabs on Jan Blachowicz and chopping at his legs the entire time. time. Maybe Jan Blachowicz will land a big shot here or there that maybe sends Israel Adesanya back against a cage, and it's like a big moment for Jan Blachowicz. But other than that, Israel Adesanya is not going to eat punches clean like Dominick Reyes did. He's going to be moving around the outside a little bit too much. Not too much, sorry. He's going to be moving around the outside a lot, which is going to help him not run into any big shots from the legendary Borscht power of Jan Blachowicz. And Israel Adesanya is going to chop at his legs in the first 3 rounds. Then in the 4th round, Jan Blachowicz is going to be told by his corner that he's down 3 rounds. And like the legendary Polish Viking that he is, which makes no sense. I don't know why Adesanya keeps calling him a Viking. He's Polish. But even still, I think Jan Blachowicz is going to get a little bit restless in the 4th round of being outstruck. He's going to try and close the distance and get something going and land a big combination finish like he did against Thiago Santos after being outstruck for the first 3 rounds as well. And I think Israel Adesanya is more than capable of landing that counter check hook in the 4th round that's going to drop Jan Blachowicz. He'll finish it to ground and pound afterwards as well. Israel Adesanya is going to get the job done by 4th round TKO to a counter left hook as Jan Blachowicz rushes in. Jan goes down. Izzy moves around the outside, lands his hammer fists to ground and pound and big shots, and Jan Blachowicz is going to be done in the 4th round. Israel Adesanya gets it done by 4th round TKO. I'm done. Like and subscribe. We did well last card, so let's try and keep the momentum going. Goodbye. Click that button up there. I'll see you later. Like and subscribe. And I'll be live for a fight companion as well tonight, so stay tuned for that as well. Toodle pip.